Today we're going to do the full review of the Aragorn Ranger Sword from Swordier. This has been one of my favorite swords. We'll go over the scabbard, then we'll look at the hilt components, then we'll talk about the blade, cutting, and then how accurate is it to the movie version. And then we'll do a little bit of comparing between this, the United Cutlery version, which is the standard that I'm going to be using for the movie version, and the Ronin Katana version. First, let's take a look at the scabbard. You can see here, the stitching, nice and straight. The individual stitches are fairly large, but for this price point, I think it's fine. And it's very similar to what you see from Romance of Menon on their European swords and from Ronin Katana. I haven't had any issues with it. You can feel it. It's very noticeable that it's there, but it's fine. The metal end piece here is great. No wiggle, feels very firmly attached, is made of stainless steel. So if your hands touch it, you don't have to worry about oiling it. Or if it gets wet, if you happen to be doing water bottle cutting, then you don't have to worry about that. And that's nice. The scabbard itself is this nice green color, which is accurate to the movies. It came with these little belt loops. The fact that you're getting something with it is amazing, and you could just put this onto any belt, which is great. No rain guard. The sword does fit nicely in the scabbard, and it is wood core. And because there's no metal throat piece, you don't have to worry about the blade scratching or dulling every time you draw and sheath the sword. We'll put it in real quick so you guys can see the retention. Easy to draw, but has some good retention on it. No rattle. Overall, a fantastic scabbard. Taking a look at the hilt construction, we'll start off with the pommel. It is peened. See if I can zoom in so you guys can take a look at that. It is noticeable. It's not the nicest peen I've ever seen in the world, but it does the job. It's fine. There's no hot spots or anything on it. The pommel itself feels great. Again, it's fine. No hot spots or anything on it. Very comfortable to grip. Has a nice shape to it. Moving on to the handle, you can see that it has similar color stitching and similar color leather to the scabbard. Has the same ring and a spacer here. The one thing I will note is that this leather here gets very slippery when wet. Nice. You'll be able to see when I show some of the test cutting that I was throwing up water bottles and stabbing them, and on one of them it went right above my head and I stabbed it and it got me and my hands wet when that happened, and then the sword was incredibly slippery. That's just something to be aware of. Going on to the crossguard, is nicely shaped, has this little extra piece here on the crossguard that is accurate to the movie, has some additional wire in the inlays here, which looks very nice. You can see that there is a small gap in the crossguard, well within historical limits and fine for the price point. Personally, if there's anything I was going to change in the sword at all, this would be the thing that I would wish to be changed, is just to have this be a tiny bit tighter. Moving on to the blade portion, there is a maker's mark here. See if you guys are able to see that. It is a horse with a sword. It has a nice wide fuller here at the base and runs up around 8 inches. The blade came sharp. It thrust great. It cut great. I did whack this into my wood stand a couple of times. So first, we're just gonna start with a drop test. Imagine that your foot is in there and you just accidentally drop a sword on you. We'll just do it from a casual height here. That would have been unfortunate for your foot. Next, we're just gonna do a light cut, just like a casual wrist cut. Let's say you maybe had a glancing blow or something like that. That's not too particularly heavy. The top of the shoe did not seem to be that much help. And we cut all the way in and just a little bit through. Ooh, that would not have been good for your foot. On this next one, we'll do a slightly more dedicated cut and just see what happens. Oh. Well, I thought the shoe was going to have more stopping force than that. Apparently it did not. Oh. So that would not have been too good for your foot there. Let's take a look at the sword. You can see where it went into the wood. Looks like there's no edge damage. Maybe a little bit of scuffing, but that's pretty easy to buff out. No edge damage, maybe like a couple of little scuffs, but like overall, still very fine. Cut through shoes with it, cut through pumpkins with it. Quick side note from Editor Loop, the goal was not to decimate the pumpkin in a single strike. That would be very easy. The goal was to try and get as many cuts out of the pumpkin as possible. I have a couple leftover little pumpkins, so we'll try a couple of cuts on those and see what happens. Aragorn uses his sword one-handed a lot, so we'll see how easy it is to do a couple of one-handed strikes on these. Go for a thrust. Go for a rising cut, and I'll try not to hit the sand. Go for a quick wrist cut down the middle. Woo. is maneuverable enough to do double cuts. I did a whole bunch of different ones. I did false edge to true edge, and then did the X one, did same plane, around one. So we're gonna try a double cut with this Ranger sword from Swordier and see if I can cut the bottom bottle and then the top bottle. Sharp enough to cut. I'm gonna put this piece of magazine paper on the tip and then try to drop the sword and cut through the paper, and we'll see how it goes. Super fun to use. On this next one, I'm gonna do a combo cut. Woo. Nice. On this test, I'm going to start with my sword as close to the water bottle as possible. I'm gonna try and just draw the sword through the bottle and see if I can get a clean cut. Going over overall stats with the sword, overall length from the very tip to the end is just slightly over 46 inches. If I'm looking at just blade length, then I'm sitting at 35 inches. From the guard to the end of the pommel is about 11.5 inches. Someone did ask how wide it was, so I'll measure how wide the blade is at the base. It is 2 inches at the base. Mine shows 1,712 grams. Checking distal taper here. I hate using these things because I'm always second guessing myself on if this is correct or not. Yeah, 5.6 at the base is what it looks like. Then a little ways out, looks like we're at 4.7. Closer to the tip, 3.7. At the very end, just above the tip, 2.9. Hopefully that helps. You can see on the blade that has a nice profile taper, and then it also has some good distal taper. How similar is this to the movie version? Pretty dang similar. So much so that if you were just casually looking at it, you will have a hard time telling the difference. Here are both of the swords next to each other. Obviously, one of these looks a lot newer because it is. This one I've had for maybe close to like 20 years or something like that, I think, which is crazy. Now, let me point out a couple of quick differences here. On the movie version, there's an additional wire inlay here on the pommel that is missing from the Swordier version. But I do appreciate they put the wire inlays on the crossguard. Then there's also these same wire inlays on the crossguard. On the movie version, the fuller extends almost to the tip. It maybe terminates 3 or 4 inches out. On the Swordier version, it goes maybe 8 inches or so out. On the movie version, the seam is on the side of the handle. On the Swordier version, the seam is on the flat or the center of the handle. As far as blade differences, that is about it. And then obviously you have the maker's mark on one and the Lord of the Rings stamp on the other, which actually, hold on, this says 2002. This is, it's crazy how old this is. As far as length goes, just double checking I was on the right one. Oh my gosh. The United Cutlery one, just under 47 inches. And then blade length is 36 inches. Handle length, 11.5 inches. So very, very similar. Seems like the Swordier one is just a smidge smaller. The base of the blade starts at 2 inches. And again, yeah, 2 inches on this one as well. They're very, very similar. I do not have the United Cutlery sheath, so there could be some additional differences. One difference for sure is that in the movie version, there is like a little pouch where Aragorn keeps his like hunting knife. So obviously that is missing here. If Swordier decided to go above and beyond and get one with a knife in it, I would probably just call them and ask if I could buy that scabbard with that knife. This is by far the closest functional replica that you can get of the Aragorn Ranger Sword. And if you just bought this and somebody came over and they hadn't had this one for the last 20 plus years staring at it, knowing all the intricate details, they probably would not know that this was not one of the official replicas because it is very close. And the fact that it is functional and you can go out and cut things with it is just, it brings me so much joy I can't describe. Let me compare it to the Ronin Katana one. And I will go fairly quick on this because I already did a little bit of comparing. Some immediate differences. The crossguards are different. The Swordier one is faithful to the movie. The Ronin Katana one opted for something that was a little bit more functional. Additionally, the Ronin Katana one does not have the wire inlays here. It has a space for them, so if you wanted to go get your own wire, you could inlay here, but they do not have that. They opted to go for a black color leather instead of the green. It is lighter and feels more maneuverable, and it is a little bit thinner, just shy of 2 inches. Like the Swordier version, it has a fuller that terminates earlier than the movie replica. The stitching here is in the same spot. It could be that that this is not peened. I'm not 100% sure. I reached out to Ronin Katana. They're also not 100% sure on my model. But yeah, so just know that if you get this, you might get a threaded one. If you want to get a peened one, you should definitely reach out to them beforehand and confirm that you can get a peened one. So in short, if you want something that is incredibly faithful to the movie, then the Swordier version is definitely the way to go. So yes, there we go. There's some quick differences and similarities between these two. If you want to go for weight on this one, 1,640 grams. Not a huge difference, but it is noticeable when you're swinging them around. Back to this Swordier one. If you want one, how do you get one? And is it worth it? So this is not publicly available on the Swordier website. Why? I am not 100% sure because, like I said, in my opinion, this is the best, most accurate Aragorn Ranger Sword reproduction that is functional and on the market. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But if you want one, then what you can do is I talked to Alex. He said that it's fine for me to share with you guys his email. So I will put that in the pinned comment down below. You guys can reach out and tell them that you want one. I don't know if they have a limited quantity or not, or if they're gonna be making these in batches. I don't know the whole story. So if you want one, I would talk to him sooner rather than later and just see the situation. If you're interested, you might as well reach out, talk to him, see what the situation is. And then if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, then at least you reached out and you know, right? So that is what I would recommend. Again, I'm not gonna say price because they're not publicly available, but it's Swordier, so it's not bad. Especially for, in my opinion, the best Aragorn Ranger Sword reproduction on the market. Is it worth the money? 100%. 100%. Hope that helps you guys. In the future, am I going to be doing some videos where I am dual wielding Aragorn swords? Yeah. Is that going to be just absolutely silly and ridiculous and practical? Yes to all those, except probably not practical. But it's going to be fun because why wouldn't you want to dual wield Aragorn Ranger swords, right? So that's definitely going to happen.